Live in the woods. I have some people flow in here pretty soon, but yeah, in the woods, hanging out. Guys, get a view of the swamp. This was kind of a spur of the moment kind of thing, so I'm sure there'll be some people trickling in. Maybe. Not gonna be honest for very long, so I'm gonna wait for a couple people to show up before I start doing what we were supposed to be doing yesterday. But things happen, so here we are. Actually, it's gonna be pretty short because Nikki actually has a show that's gonna be pretty cool to check out tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I'll be live no more than like 30 minutes. Taking a walk, hanging out in the woods. I'm gonna put the recorder out in a spot. So that's what we're doing right now. Is actually gonna put the recorder out, take you guys along for the journey. I already walked most of the way, so I'm actually already here. But yeah, I was gonna go live last night in the woods and stuff, but I actually had a pretty major headache and passed out at like 7 or 8 or something. So yeah, that was a no-go, and so I'm just kind of taking it easy. But I'm gonna put the recorder out regardless in a spot actually next to the swamp. You see the swamp's on the other side. We're looking for Bigfoot. Putting the recorder out, and hopefully catching Bigfoot vocalizations, any disturbance, tree knocks, something snapping, going crazy in the woods and stuff. A pretty big Bigfoot hotspot. A lot of reports over the past few decades actually in this area, and I've had a number of experiences that we've talked about, of course, and so we're getting over to different kinds of trees that I like, and I'm going to show you guys where I like to set my recorder out when I'm Bigfoot researching, so you guys kind of have an idea of what you want to do. So hopefully this isn't too bad. It's not buffering and stuff, but so usually I like to find, the crotches of trees. That's what these are called in the tree industry. And you set your recorder up in there and turn it on. And I have it in a bag in case it gets wet, it rains, or even the condensation and stuff over time can mess with the electronics and stuff. So I like to find the crotches of trees, usually a little higher, or depending on the tree, away from all the wolf spider dens and stuff. I don't know, can we see him in there? Oh, he's gonna jump out at us, right? Away from all the creepy crawlies and stuff. But and away from other animals like raccoons or possums, but mainly raccoons, where raccoons are very curious and stuff. They see that plastic bag, smell it, and see a light on. My particular recorders, and most recorders I think have like lights and stuff that you can turn on and off. But if a light source is still on, or a blinking little red or orange light, critters might get used to it. I've actually had one particular time I've set it on the ground, I've set it on rocks and different logs and stuff. I've had mice or little rodents come up and chew on it, chew the bag, and we've actually, have duct tape and just stick it to the tree. Yeah, just stick it to the tree like this. But if you're trying to hide it from, oh, I got poked. That hurt. Oh, it got me good. But if you're trying to hide it from, other people from finding your recorder, you want to try to hide it and put it in a better spot. So I like the crotches of trees, or if you can get up a little bit. But got some interesting stuff. So, ugh, looks like another wolf den spider. This is a spot that I like to use, but I guess we got a little roommate in there and stuff. So you like this and stuff, you know, you can stuff it up in there and then stuff some leaves to hide it. But since that guy's made a little home there, we'll set it somewhere else. But we want it next to the swamp that goes all the way around. So if we hear anything from the swamp, Bigfoot's making tree knocks, Bigfoot's making vocalizations and stuff, our recorder will hopefully pick it up. And we can hopefully get it and bring it and show you guys and stuff. I've caught some pretty cool things out here, actually, that I have yet to show you guys, like some type of critter getting attacked, some predator getting a different kind of animal. I think it was like a small little, I don't know, maybe a rabbit or something got killed by a coyote, or even a fisher. We got some big stuff out here. Here's another little spot where you could put your recorder and hide it. Just you gotta be careful because raccoons and possums and smaller animals like to crawl up in here. But we slip over in here. There's no good ledges. We're gonna take a look, walk down the swamp, see if we can, you know, you walk along the edges and stuff. If there was anything really stepping through this swamp, you would clearly see it, no problem. The indentations. But nothing big seems to be moving through. And it's nice, the weather's getting colder, the bugs are retreating away from my face and gorging on it. And soon all this brush will be down. It'll be nice to be able to use that thermal in the fall when there's nothing around. We see all the way across that swamp. It'll be pretty good. All right, I think we're gonna have to come up with some quick spot on some raccoon poop. So we definitely want to put it away from where the raccoon can get. I think I got a spot right up there. As long as there's no hole that goes into the... Yeah, it goes down in there too much. Anyways, guys, for those of you who are joining, keep joining. And for new people who are viewing, you know, this is a Bigfoot research channel. We look out in the woods for Sasquatch in Michigan. We're going to put a recorder out and, you know, we're having fun. We're going to go for about 30 minutes, and then Nikki's going to have a show over on Sasquatch Secrets YouTube channel, where she has a pretty good show lined up, like usual. So we're going to go live for about 20 more minutes, and then I'm going to head out of the woods, tune into that show when I drive home, and we'll be going live again here in a couple days. We're back in studio, and then of course out here, out in the woods, where there's actually Bigfoot and Sasquatch reported. Most likely near you too, with all the reports and stuff. Let's check this out. There might be some dens, some coyote dens or something right here. Looks like you see all this disturbed dirt and sand that's been kicked up. Looks like it's kind of old though. Nothing too fresh, and most of the dens seem to be collapsed and stuff in the way, so you can tell that not much has been there. But you know, foxes, and there's a hole right there that might be pretty fresh still. Rabbits, foxes, even raccoons will go into a little hole in the den like that. And Sasquatches too, believe it or not. Bigger dens than this. Actually, there's a couple of reports of them digging and living in a den and finding dens like that, and potentially like otters going underneath the shelf of a creek bed or river system, and then denning up right there. Kind of looks like a good spot right here, and there's no spider crawlies right there, which I don't like. You know, you don't want to be sticking your fingers up in here and have something bite you. All right, turn this on. Turn it on. All right, this is the Lost Cryptids Conservatory Audio Wildlife Research Project. It is Area 2, Spot 1.5. It is 6:43 p.m. It is September 7th, I think. 7th. All right, so we're gonna put it in there, and then we're gonna stuff some leaves. So I'm gonna get a little mixture of fresh leaves, dry leaves. But anyways, I like to just, find a little crotch of a tree, stuff it in there, and hide it a little bit, camouflage it a little bit. That way, if a person comes by, they're not gonna snag it. And but you can see that little light. Mine has a light and stuff. Most of them have lights, so you want to have it blocked enough where it's not going to shine in the nighttime for Sasquatch to see it or other animals to really pick up on it. Mainly people to take it away, or if a raccoon sees that light, he might get a little curious and go after it and drag it around, and won't find it once he goes in there or goes around. So we got that set. That's going to pick up any vocalizations from Sasquatch or anything else cool that happens from the swamp. That's on the other side of these trees. Get down low. You see that tall grass? That's about 3 foot on average, maybe 4 foot the tallest it looks like, but 3 foot on average. All the way through there, and then there's trees, these little islands and stuff. Now this gets all flooded with swamp water and stuff, so I think right now it's actually pretty dry. A lot of the creek systems around here, river systems, are dry, so throw on a good pair of muck boots and stuff, walk over onto these islands and stuff. But when it's all flooded and stuff, it really gets almost impossible because you sink down past your kneecaps in most of the stuff around here. Actually, with this vegetation, it would be a lot easier to cross because you have this vegetation that you can actually step onto, the root systems and ball of root systems that you can jump onto, but you still sink in between the gaps. But if it was flat with no vegetation and just mud and stuff, guaranteed you'll sink into it. Almost like a muck and quicksand kind of environment. It's very dangerous, actually. You don't want to just run and jump into this kind of environment because you might go down and not come back up. And if no one's there to rescue you, and if they're not fast enough to rescue you, you will definitely die. You will die. I've actually, earlier in my research career, when I was a lot younger, my teenage years, I jumped across a creek channel, swampy creek channel thing, and got up to right here into the swampy muck. And luckily, there was a fighting the spider web with spider on it just now. But when I jumped and landed and got up to my chest in this swampy muck in this little creek channel, luckily there was a tree, and the other side of the bank was right there, and it was a hill. I was already basically made it there, but got pretty lucky and stuff. If I was in the middle of it and stuff, it could have been a lot deeper and went down to, maybe past my head. Being out by myself and stuff could have been a bad situation. So we're gonna walk back to the car. We got 15 minutes left. Go check out Nikki's show on Sasquatch Secrets, where they're gonna be talking about some Bigfoot bullshit, hoaxing, and crap that's in the community, you know. A lot of people make up stories because it's easier to make up stories than look for Bigfoot out in the woods. Conference is coming up here in Michigan, Mason, Michigan, September 26th from noon to 6. And then we're going to do a camp out in a different area, not this area, totally different area. So yeah, that's going to be pretty fun. We got a number of people signed up for that. And yeah, hopefully get some action during that time. Because that'll be pretty sweet to have witnesses to verify, you know, the encounter and stuff like that, and teach people when you go out and stuff, you know, try to teach them stuff, show them stuff. It's a lot different to do it in person than in a live on here, or if I'm in the studio and stuff, you know. It's a lot different of a vibe and in person, in-depth look at the environment and the sounds. And when you're experiencing potential Sasquatch stuff, you know, you'll know it. And when we hear a bunch of other noises and I'm like, yeah, that's a coyote. Oh yeah, that sounds like a fox. Oh yeah, that's a bird. Yep, that's a barred owl. That sounds like a woodpecker. You know, it kind of, it's like, oh, okay. But then there'll be something that's like, hey, what was that? And then that's when things will get amped up. We'll go out and investigate and stuff. Try to go actually walk to the wood knock, walk to the localization with our thermal, with our night vision, with our recorders going, multiple cameras going, cell phones, whatever. So more people, more technology, equipment, we can hopefully capture Sasquatch on film, on thermal, on night vision. And the recorder that we just set out next to this swamp. So, and I've actually got a couple of interesting things from here. A lot of stuff I actually still have to go through. I got a couple 100 hours of audio to go through. From a couple dozen from, you know, it's about half and half from this spot and this other spot. But I definitely got a couple 100 hours to still go through. And this last time I set the recorder out in a different area, you know, you gotta flip the button on, and it turns on and you start recording. I came back to the recorder was still on, but the button was turned off. And you can only do that manually. And you know, you see how I just set it up. I don't set it up in any real way where, you know, it can fall or slide down anywhere and hit the button. But I found the button had been switched down. The recorder was turned off. So we're still looking through that recorder and hopefully something's there. But you know, it's one of those things, like, it's like a lot of coincidences add up to something. That area, we had the big boulder being moved and stuff we talked about on a different live. So we'll show more of that when we pretty much stop recording in these areas, which is like during archery season, the first 2 weeks of archery season, just to give hunters their time to go and hunt and stuff. And I don't want people to find the recorder, don't want to disturb people hunting. And then so that will bring us into the fall season of October, which is only a month away. And then we'll take 2 weeks off from recording in gun season, which is in November, to give, you know, the hunters, I'll be out hunting myself too, do a little bit of archery season, hopefully this year too, if I can find the time. But basically, you know, you want to give the hunters their time to be out there. You know, us doing our Bigfoot thing is really just going to mess with their hunt. But a lot of hunters during hunting season see Bigfoot. Actually, it's one of the most prime months of the year to see a Sasquatch is during hunting season. 2 weeks of gun season produces a mass amount of actual visual Class A sightings and stuff. And sometimes the Sasquatch takes the deer away that has just been shot. A lot of hunters go missing and stuff too. A lot of weird stuff happens when majority of hunters descend into the woods all over the U.S. So I'm gonna be hunting, you know, and hopefully see a Sasquatch and stuff at the same time, because again, ample time from and there's a lot of conflicts and stuff too with the hunters and the stealing of the deer, and humans being armed in conflict. There's actually seems to be, you know, a majority of weird interactions that hunters have and stuff, and it might be because they're armed, you know, have sporting orange, easy to see and stuff, and it's a activity in a season that I'm sure the Sasquatches have got used to over the past decades and decades and decades, 100 years worth of hunting season and tradition in America, and wearing the color orange. The usual 2 weeks gun season, archery season lasts a little bit longer, a couple more months. So I think they got used to when it's fall time, especially in the northern states, when the leaves change colors and stuff. Especially they, I'm sure, expect hunters to come in, and they might get a little territorial. They might get a little jealous of that. But it is a great time to be out in the woods, enjoy your hunting and stuff, and have a little increased chance to see a Sasquatch. And that's pretty much in all 50 states. Seems to be this increased chance to see Sasquatch during hunting season. And it just might be just there's simply more people in the woods actively going off trail hunting, which usually means you're a little slower, actively stalking, kind of sneaking mode. You're taking your time, observing everything. You know, you're not walking and talking to your cell phone, you know. You're not power walking or speed walking at a normal pace through the woods. You're really slowing down and trying to spot any movement. You know, you're hunting. It's a different kind of a vibe, a different kind of a process that a person goes through. And that might simply make them more observant, obviously, to see a Sasquatch. So that could be another reason. So I appreciate everyone for taking the time to check out. I'm sorry for not reading all the comments and stuff. I'm got things on my mind and trying to walk and not get stuck with pictures and fall, but I'll read some of these comments and comments and concerns. Watch out for bears. Yeah, I'm prepared for bears. Love your videos. I appreciate it. If all my stalkers knew where I would be, they would probably talk about it a lot more, but they don't. And you could try to find a random tree in the woods, but good luck. And if you find that one, I got more. I could just get another one. I mean, and it takes a real kind of piece of shit person to go steal other people's equipment that it's out there, especially if they know that it's out there, right? I mean, it's just kind of a piece of shit move to do. If I did a live premiere, it would be better quality. I don't know. I just go live in the woods. Yeah, I'm not really expecting to film anything, especially on the live. If I was really wanting to film stuff, I would film off the camera itself without going live, and then, you know, have my thermal or night vision. But yeah, so it is almost 7 o'clock Eastern. Want everyone to go check out Sasquatch Secrets YouTube channel with Nikki Cologne. She got a pretty good show lined up. Gonna expose some bullshit Bigfoot hoaxing from Sasquatch Ontario and the Nefertiti Bigfoot mask, the mask that was over the fence. We did a live show about 2 years ago almost now of exposing that, and I actually showed clips from Mike Patterson himself telling the story and lying about it because he changes it and fabricates it, and it's a whole mess. So you guys can go back to my live show a couple years ago, the Sasquatch Ontario Mike Patterson hoax, the faces on the fence, and it's the same mask, same light in the same eye direction, the whole breakdown of that. So they're going to take a little more in-depth dive about the mask that Brian actually bought that actually matches the photos completely and stuff, which we already suspected. So go check out that. I'm gonna be tuning in, listening to that on the drive home. So won't be really watching the chat, but I'll say hi and stuff. Be listening more than anything. Got a couple more stops to do anyway, so we'll be back live in the studio here in a couple days and back out in the field. Hopefully sooner rather than later. And earlier in this live, I explained why I wasn't live last night. So you guys can rewatch that. Like, subscribe if you're new. If you want to donate. If you don't, okay. But it would help a little bit, especially since we are doing some new things. And, well, you know, it'd be nice to go downstate. There's a couple of spots in Kentucky and Ohio and Tennessee, and back to Florida would be pretty sweet. But that's all in good time. But right now, hopefully you guys have a good rest of your evening. May God bless each and every one of you. And if you find yourselves in the woods, make sure you look over your shoulder, because you never know what might be staring back at you. Hopefully you have your camera on, ready to go. So you can snap, 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 and we can all take a look at it. And with that, I'll see you guys on the next one.